Dangerous levels of added sugar, chemical preservatives, and BPA-linked packaging contamination were just found in some of America's most trusted canned fruit brands. That peach cup you packed for lunch, that fruit cocktail you spooned onto the holiday table, the pineapple sitting in your pantry right now. Open the wrong can, and what you're really eating is high fructose corn syrup, artificial thickeners, and metal residues leaching from processed linings dressed up as wholesome orchard fruit. If this has been your go-to brand for 10, 20, 30 years, everything we found has been in your body that entire time. Today, we're breaking down 8 canned fruit brands that failed our investigation, including 2 most people consider perfectly safe. Plus, the 4 brands that actually passed with clean labels and honest ingredients. Coming in at number 8 on our list, Lucky Leaf. The name sounds innocent. Plucked from the orchard, kissed by sunlight, straight into the can. Lucky Leaf markets itself as wholesome fruit packed for convenience. The reality is closer to dessert in disguise. Pick up a can of Lucky Leaf cherry fruit filling, turn it around. Read the ingredients. High fructose corn syrup appears before the fruit does. Modified cornstarch, artificial coloring, sodium benzoate. This isn't canned fruit. This is cake topping pretending to be nutrition. One serving packs over 20 grams of sugar, and nobody eats just one serving. Pour it into a bowl. Watch how it moves. It doesn't pour. It oozes, thick and glossy like motor oil with a cherry tint. That unnatural shine comes from processed thickening agents designed to coat your tongue and trick your brain into thinking this is food. The sugar concentration in some Lucky Leaf products exceeds what you'd find in a can of cola. Adults over 50 managing diabetes or taking blood pressure medication face compounded risks from this kind of hidden sugar load. Your body processes fructose through the liver. Overwhelm it daily, and you're accelerating fatty liver disease, spiking triglycerides, and undermining the very prescriptions your doctor wrote to keep you alive. Lucky Leaf generated millions in revenue selling products that nutritionists classify closer to confectionery than fruit. They could reformulate tomorrow. They could reduce the sugar by half and still taste sweet. They won't, because sugar is cheap, fruit is expensive, and your loyalty is profitable. Wholesome orchard fruit, 20 grams of sugar per serving. A name that sounds like nature. A product that belongs in a bakery, not your fruit bowl. That was a dessert topping masquerading as fruit. But surely, the big national brands with decades of trust are giving you real fruit, right? Not even close. Number 7, Fruit Bowl. The packaging shows ripe peaches bathed in golden light. Orchard-style fruit packed for freshness, the label promises. Open the can, and the first thing that hits you is the smell. Not peaches, not pears. Corn syrup. That cloying chemical sweetness that coats the inside of your nostrils before you even taste anything. Fruit Bowl has drawn repeated criticism from nutrition experts for relying on high fructose corn syrup as a primary ingredient instead of natural fruit juice. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 25 grams of added sugar per day for women and 36 for men. One serving of certain Fruit Bowl products delivers nearly half that daily limit in a single sitting. And the fruit itself tells the story. Pale, mushy segments that dissolve on your tongue before you can chew them. No fiber, no texture, no resistance. Fresh fruit fights back when you bite it. This surrenders instantly because it's been processed into submission over months in a factory. The fiber that makes fruit healthy, the part that slows sugar absorption and feeds your gut bacteria, gets stripped away during industrial canning. What remains is sugar delivery in fruit-shaped packaging. For families serving this to children after school or adults over 50 trying to manage cholesterol and blood glucose levels, every single can is working against you. The fructose bypasses normal insulin response and heads straight for your liver. Over months and years of daily consumption, that's how metabolic syndrome begins. That's how chronic inflammation builds. That's how a product marketed as wholesome actually accelerates the very diseases you're trying to prevent. Fruit Bowl sells an image of orchards and sunshine. What's inside the can hasn't seen either. If the specialty brands are hiding corn syrup, at least the store brands are honest about being budget options, right? Wrong. Number 6, Kroger brand. America's largest grocery chain sells millions of cans of Kroger brand fruit every single year. Budget-friendly everyday fruit, the marketing says, and the price looks right. Under $2 for a large can of peach slices sounds like a deal. But consumer comparisons have exposed what that low price actually buys you. Open a can of Kroger fruit cocktail. Pour it into a clear glass and hold it up to the light. Watch what settles to the bottom. Syrup, thick and cloudy, making up nearly half the total volume. The fruit-to-liquid ratio in several Kroger products falls well below competing national brands. You're paying for fruit and getting sugar water with fruit floating in it. The texture tells you everything the label won't. Mushy grape halves that collapse between your fingers. Pear cubes so soft they dissolve on your tongue before you swallow. Cherry pieces dyed red to mask their processed pallor. This is fruit that's been cooked, pressurized, and soaked in sweetener until every cell wall has surrendered completely. Independent consumer reviews have flagged sugar-heavy syrup formulas across several of Kroger's most popular canned fruit varieties. For people over 50 managing cholesterol with daily statin medication, or families watching blood sugar levels across generations, these products quietly sabotage your health efforts. The sugar content can interfere with medication effectiveness and worsen insulin resistance over time. Kroger generated over $47 billion in revenue last year. They could source higher quality fruit tomorrow. They could reduce the syrup content by half. A $2 can, half of it is syrup. The biggest grocery chain in America, and they still won't put more fruit than sugar in a can. You just saw what the cheap brands are hiding, so surely spending more on a premium store brand gets you something better. Not even close. Number 5. Signature Select. Safeway's house brand positions itself as the elevated choice. Premium store brand alternative, the packaging whispers with clean fonts and appetizing photography. Signature Select fruit cups line the shelves with images of glistening peaches and perfectly diced pears bathed in golden light. The visual promise is unmistakable. This is the better option. Then you read the nutrition label. Some Signature Select varieties contain added sugar levels that rival the cheapest budget brands dollar for dollar. The healthy-looking packaging and fruit imagery create a powerful halo effect. You assume premium means cleaner ingredients. You assume the higher price reflects better sourcing and better standards. It doesn't. It reflects better graphic design. Crack open a fruit cup. That first sip of liquid at the top tastes like melted candy. The syrup clings to the fruit, making every bite sweeter than it needs to be. The fruit itself is pale and uniform, machine cut into identical cubes that look nothing like fruit you'd slice at home. That uniformity isn't quality control. It's industrial processing optimized for speed and cost, not nutrition. For anyone watching heart health while managing daily prescriptions, or families packing these cups in school lunchboxes thinking they're making the responsible choice, the added sugar load tells a very different story. Empty calories disguised in premium packaging create false confidence that costs you real health consequences over years of daily consumption. Your body doesn't care what the cup looks like. It processes that sugar identically whether the label costs $1 or $3. Signature Select proves something uncomfortable. Premium branding in the canned fruit aisle is just a costume. Underneath, the same syrup, the same processed fruit, the same sugar payload as the brand's half its price. A prettier label. The identical problem inside. If this helps you stay safer at the store, hit subscribe. It's free, and it means you'll never miss these investigations. Think you've been making the smart choice by paying less and sticking with a name everyone recognizes? Wait until you see what that loyalty actually costs you. Number 4. Great value. Walmart's Empire brand. The canned fruit that sits in more American pantries than any store brand on the planet. Great value. Peaches, great value fruit cocktail, great value mandarin oranges. Cheap, familiar, everywhere you look. Independent reviews have repeatedly flagged great value canned fruits for inconsistent quality across their entire product line. Some cans contain decent fruit. Others contain mushy, pale segments swimming in excessive syrup. The inconsistency comes from sourcing. Great value pulls fruit from multiple suppliers spread across different countries and continents. Batch to batch, you genuinely don't know what you're getting. But you're always getting the sugar. Peel back the tab on a great value fruit cup. That initial rush of liquid is almost entirely sweetened syrup. The fruit-to-liquid ratio favors the cheap ingredient every single time without exception. Taste the mandarin oranges. That metallic edge underneath the sweetness isn't flavor. It's the can talking to you. Cheap lining, acidic fruit, and months of warehouse shelf time create a chemical conversation that ends up on your tongue with every bite. For adults over 50 managing diabetes alongside daily heart medication, or anyone trying to reduce processed sugar intake for their family, great value products can silently interfere with blood pressure management and glucose control. The sodium content in some varieties adds yet another layer of risk that most consumers never bother to check. Walmart could demand better quality from its suppliers tomorrow morning. They have the purchasing power to reshape the entire canned fruit industry overnight. They choose margin instead. Great value. The name is a promise. The product is a compromise. Affordable doesn't mean safe. It never did. See the pattern? Budget brands cut corners. Store brands hide behind premium packaging. So where does that leave the old-fashioned legacy brands your family has trusted for generations? Let's find out. Number 3. Libby's. The red label, the cursive font. The brand your grandmother kept stacked in her pantry because her mother did the same thing before her. Libby's has been on American shelves for over a century. That kind of trust gets passed down like a family recipe, unquestioned and automatic. But trust isn't an ingredient, and nostalgia doesn't make a nutrition label any cleaner. Libby's canned fruit products have drawn criticism for artificial flavor additives and syrup-heavy formulations that reduce the nutritional value consumers expect from something called fruit. Open a can of Libby's pears in heavy syrup. Hold one slice up to the light. That translucent, almost gelatinous texture isn't what a ripe pear looks like. It's what happens when fruit gets processed at extreme heat and pressure, then soaked in sugar solution for months on end. The flavor confirms it. Flat, one-dimensional sweetness with no complexity, no brightness, no trace of what that pear tasted like before the factory got hold of it. Just sugar and softness and nothing else. Now consider what this means stretched over decades. If you've been eating Libby's since you were a child, that's 40, 50, 60 years of processed sweeteners accumulating in your dietary pattern, compounding silently. For people over 50 already managing blood pressure or dealing with kidney concerns, these sweetened products add stress to organs that are working harder with every passing year. The excess sugar drives weight gain. The processed additives burden your filtration system. The syrup load elevates blood pressure through mechanisms most people never connect to something as innocent as canned fruit. 4 generations of trust. 4 generations of syrup. Libby's built a legacy on your grandmother's loyalty. They're still cashing checks on her memory while the product inside drifts further from real fruit with every passing decade. That was a legacy brand coasting on your family's trust. But at least the brand that practically invented canned tropical fruit in America holds itself to a higher standard, right? Here's where it gets personal. Number 2. Dole. The Sunshine logo. Tropical paradise in every can. Dole pineapple, Dole mandarin oranges, Dole tropical fruit cocktail. A brand so embedded in American culture it feels like a public utility. Dole markets its canned tropical fruits as healthy, convenient, and naturally sourced for busy families and health-conscious shoppers. The words and juice appear prominently on many labels, creating the unmistakable impression that you're getting pure fruit in its own natural liquid. Consumer watchdog reviews have repeatedly flagged some Dole canned fruit lines for elevated sugar content, despite that reassuring and juice branding. The juice itself can be reconstituted from concentrate and sweetened well beyond what the whole fruit naturally contains. Imported sourcing has raised occasional inspection concerns over quality consistency across different product batches and manufacturing facilities around the world. Open a can of Dole tropical fruit. The smell is almost perfume-like, artificially bright and sweet in a way real tropical fruit never is. The pineapple chunks are uniformly yellow but lack the fibrous bite of fresh pineapple. They dissolve on your tongue like candy. That's not how fruit is supposed to behave. For adults over 50 managing diabetes or metabolic syndrome, or families giving these fruit cups to children as a healthy snack, the blood glucose response can mimic what happens after eating actual candy. The rapid sugar absorption overwhelms insulin response and creates the dangerous spikes your doctor specifically warned you about. Dole is worth billions. They own plantations across the globe. They have every resource needed to deliver genuinely clean canned fruit. The in-juice label should mean exactly what it says. When it doesn't, what you're paying for is a logo. Tropical paradise on the label. Sugar water in the can. Drop a comment if Dole is sitting in your kitchen right now. Let's see how many of us have been trusting that Sunshine logo without ever reading the back of the can. The next brand is one most people would defend without hesitation. What we found says otherwise. Number 1. Del Monte. The name itself sounds like heritage. Fresh taste, the packaging declares. America's trusted choice for canned fruit, generation after generation. Del Monte peaches practically defined the entire category. They sit in school cafeterias, hospital trays, church potlucks, and retirement community dining halls across every state. Del Monte is everywhere. That ubiquity is exactly the problem. Several Del Monte products have been criticized for heavy syrup formulas loaded with added sugar that rival dessert. Their signature fruit cocktail, the one in the iconic tall can with the red label, contains enough sugar per serving to qualify as confectionery by international nutrition standards. Past recalls have affected some fruit products over potential contamination concerns tied to processing issues at manufacturing facilities. The recalls didn't make front-page news. They rarely do for canned goods, but they happened. Processing failures, quality breakdowns, products pulled from shelves after reaching millions of consumers who never heard a word about it. Now picture this. You're 62 years old. You eat canned peaches 3 times a week because they're easy, affordable, and you've trusted Del Monte since childhood. That's over 50 years of heavy syrup consumption. 50 years of excess sugar quietly worsening your diabetes management. 50 years of elevated triglycerides building silently behind the scenes. 50 years of cardiovascular strain accumulating while you believed you were simply eating fruit. Fresh taste. That's the promise on every can. Del Monte generated over $1.7 billion in revenue. They could reduce added sugar across every product line tomorrow morning. They could switch entirely to juice packing or water packing without losing a single customer who genuinely cares about health. They haven't. Because syrup is cheaper than juice, sugar is cheaper than fruit, and the fresh taste label keeps millions of cans moving off shelves every single week. High sugar. Recall history, decades of deception. The most trusted name in canned fruit is the one that's been lying the longest. 8 brands, 8 betrayals. From Lucky Leaf's dessert masquerading as fruit to Del Monte's generational sugar deception. That's what's been sitting in your cabinet. But the story doesn't end here. 4 brands prove canned fruit can be exactly what it promises. Safe pick 1. Native Forest. This is what canned fruit should look like. Open a can of Native Forest organic pineapple, and the difference hits you immediately. The smell is clean and bright, actual pineapple, not syrup perfume. The chunks are firm, fibrous, and resist your fork the way real fruit does. No high fructose corn syrup, no artificial preservatives, no mysterious thickening agents. Native Forest uses organic fruit packed with simpler ingredient lists and avoids the heavy syrups that dominate mainstream canned fruit entirely. Every product carries USDA organic certification, meaning verified farming practices, restricted pesticide use, and third-party accountability that brands like Del Monte and Dole never submit to voluntarily. The packaging tells a different story, too. BPA non-intent lining means the cans aren't leaching endocrine-disrupting chemicals into the fruit while it sits on your shelf for months. That detail matters enormously for anyone concerned about hormone disruption, especially adults over 50 dealing with thyroid regulation or estrogen-sensitive conditions. Pour the liquid from a Native Forest can into a glass. It's thin, light, almost like water with a hint of natural fruit flavor. Compare that to the thick, cloudy syrup that pours from a Del Monte can, and the difference is visible, immediate, and undeniable. You don't need a lab to tell you which one is fruit packed in juice and which one is fruit drowned in processed sugar. Native Forest costs $1 or $2 more per can. That premium buys you organic ingredients, cleaner packaging, and a product that actually delivers what the label promises. Safe pick 2. Trader Joe's. The neighborhood store with the Hawaiian shirts and the hand-drawn price tags does something the billion-dollar brands refuse to do. They keep it simple. Trader Joe's canned fruit products rely on fruit juice instead of heavy syrup and avoid excessive artificial preservatives entirely. That sounds like it should be the bare minimum until you realize the majority of America's canned fruit aisle fails that basic test. Pick up a can of Trader Joe's Yellow Cling Peaches. Read the ingredients. Peaches, water, fruit juice concentrate. That's it. No high fructose corn syrup. No artificial preservatives. No sodium benzoate. The ingredient list is shorter than this sentence. Open the can. The peaches are firm, golden, and have that slight resistance when you bite into them that tells you this was actual fruit before it entered the can. They taste like peaches, not candy. The juice they sit in is light and clean, something you could actually drink without your face twisting at the sweetness. For people managing blood sugar alongside daily cholesterol medication, or families trying to cut processed sugar from their routine, the reduced sweetener profile makes a genuine, measurable difference at every meal. Less sugar means less insulin spiking. Less spiking means less cardiovascular strain compounding silently over months and years of daily consumption. Trader Joe's doesn't plaster organic certifications across every label, but their sourcing standards consistently avoid the worst offenders plaguing mainstream brands. A can of peaches that actually contains peaches. In this market, that simplicity is worth celebrating. Safe Pick 3, 365 by Whole Foods Market. If you want organic certification backed by a retailer willing to stake its entire reputation on clean labels, 365 delivers consistently. The Whole Foods house brand focuses on cleaner label canned fruit with verified organic options and fewer unnecessary additives across the board. Many products are certified non-GMO and packed in juice rather than thick processed syrup. Open a can of 365 organic pear halves. The pears are pale gold, firm enough to slice with a spoon, but soft enough to eat comfortably. The liquid surrounding them is clear and light, barely sweet, tasting like diluted pear juice rather than processed corn syrup. That clarity tells you everything. When you can see through the liquid in a canned fruit product, it usually means nobody dumped a cup of sweetener into it. When it's cloudy and viscous, somebody absolutely did. For adults over 50 watching metabolic markers alongside daily prescriptions, or anyone trying to protect cardiovascular function while eating conveniently, 365 products offer lower sugar profiles that support rather than sabotage your health goals. The non-GMO verification adds a layer of ingredient accountability that most mainstream brands skip entirely. And the price gap might surprise you. The difference between this clean canned fruit and the syrup-loaded alternatives we just exposed is often less than 50 cents per can. Your organs are worth more than 2 quarters a day. Every can you open from this brand reinforces a simple truth. Clean label, clean ingredients. A brand that actually means what it says on the shelf. Safe Pick 4, Wild Harvest. The organic aisle has plenty of brands making big promises on their packaging. Wild Harvest is one of the few actually keeping them inside the can. USDA organic certified across the entire fruit line, Wild Harvest emphasizes transparent ingredient sourcing and minimal processing at every single step. No artificial preservatives, no unnecessary sweeteners, no ingredients designed to extend shelf life at the expense of your metabolic health. Open a can of Wild Harvest organic peaches. Smell them first. That subtle, slightly floral sweetness is what peaches actually smell like before industrial processing strips every trace of it away. The texture holds up under a fork, firm and fibrous with the slight grain that real peach flesh has when it hasn't been cooked and pressurized into mush. Compare that to the baby food consistency of a Del Monte or Great Value peach slice, and the gap between real fruit and processed sugar delivery becomes impossible to ignore. Wild Harvest products are designed to minimize the sugar spikes, sodium surprises, and chemical additive exposure that make mainstream canned fruit a hidden health hazard for daily consumers. For anyone taking blood pressure medication alongside managing glucose levels, or families trying to stock a pantry they can actually trust with full confidence, Wild Harvest removes the guesswork entirely. The label says organic fruit packed in juice. The can contains organic fruit packed in juice. No translation required. No fine print to decode. No betrayal hiding behind the nutrition panel. 4 brands out of dozens that deliver what canned fruit was always supposed to be. 8 brands exposed, and most people still have no idea. Subscribe now. And if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.